She walked onto the Family Feud stage holding a piece of paper folded into quarters, pressed flat between her two small palms, the way you carry something you have decided is precious, not gripping it, not waving it, but holding it level, the way a server carries a full glass, the way a child carries something that belongs to someone else and must arrive undamaged. Her name was Lily Grace Mouton. She was 6 years old. She was not a contestant. She was not supposed to be on the stage at all. She was supposed to be sitting in the green room with the production assistant who had been assigned to watch her while her mother and grandmother and aunts played the game, eating the goldfish crackers and apple slices that had been laid out on the table for her, watching the monitor on the wall that showed the live feed from the studio floor. Instead, she was standing at the edge of the stage in a yellow dress with white buttons down the front, holding her piece of paper, waiting with the infinite patience of a 6-year-old who has decided that what she is about to do is more important than any instruction she has been given about where to stay and what not to touch. The floor director saw her first, then a camera operator, then Steve Harvey. Mid-sentence, mid-question, one card already raised toward the board, saw her, and stopped, and looked at her the way you look at something that does not fit the frame you were expecting, and takes a moment to resolve into what it actually is. What it actually was, as everyone in that studio would understand within the next 4 minutes, was the most important delivery anyone had made to that stage in the show's 44-year history. To understand what Lily was carrying and why she had carried it 412 miles from Hattiesburg, Mississippi, to an Atlanta television studio on a Tuesday afternoon in April of 2020, a taping that had been rescheduled 3 times due to the pandemic and had finally, improbably, happened. You have to go back 14 months to the February morning when Lily's mother, a woman named Claire Mouton, had sat across from a doctor in a clinic in Hattiesburg and been told that the thing she had been hoping was not cancer was cancer. Claire was 34 years old. She was a kindergarten teacher. She was the mother of Lily and of Lily's younger brother Owen, who was 4. She was the kind of woman her colleagues described as the one who remembers everyone's birthday and brings soup when you are sick and stays late without being asked and never mentions any of it, which is not sainthood, but is a particular form of generosity that the world runs on and rarely stops to name. She had been having headaches for 7 months. She had been to the doctor twice and been told it was stress, which it may also have been, but which was not the only thing it was. The third visit, after a morning where the headache had been so severe she had sat on the bathroom floor for 20 minutes before she could stand, had produced the imaging that produced the diagnosis. Grade 3 astrocytoma, brain tumor, left temporal lobe. The oncologist was careful and thorough and answered every question Claire had written in the small notebook she had brought to every appointment since the second visit. Because she was the kind of woman who brought a notebook. The treatment plan was aggressive: surgery followed by radiation, followed by chemotherapy, spread across 9 months. The prognosis was, the oncologist said, using the word with the precision it required, uncertain. Not hopeless, not certain. Uncertain, which is a word that asks more of a person than either of the cleaner alternatives. Claire had driven home from that appointment alone. She had sat in the driveway for 11 minutes. Then she had gone inside and made lunch for Lily and Owen, who had been home with her mother Dottie, and she had not said anything to them about the appointment because they were 6 and 4, and because she was still deciding how to be someone who knew this thing she now knew. She told Dottie that evening after the children were in bed. Dottie, Dorothy Mae Mouton, 61 years old, retired school librarian, woman of organized faith and disorganized emotion. The person Claire had called first after every significant event of her adult life, had listened to everything, and then had been quiet for a long moment, and then she had said, "All right, tell me what you need me to do, and I'll do it," which was the only possible correct response, and which was exactly what Claire had needed to hear before she could start being someone who had this information and was going to act on it. What she needed Dottie to do, it turned out, was move in. Dottie had been in the house within a week. She had taken the guest room, reorganized the kitchen in a way Claire gently objected to, and then admitted was better, established a school and bedtime routine with Lily and Owen that ran with the precision of a system designed by someone who had spent 30 years managing a library, and had begun, quietly and without announcement, to carry the weight of the household so that Claire's energy could go where it was most needed. The surgery was in March of 2019. It went as well as these things go, which is a phrase that contains more complexity than it appears to. Claire came home after 6 days. She was diminished in ways that were temporary and in ways that were not yet certain, and she moved through the house in those first weeks with the careful deliberateness of someone relearning the dimensions of her own life. Lily had watched her mother come home from the hospital and had asked, once, with the directness that is the particular grace of 6-year-olds, whether her mother was going to be okay. Claire had looked at her daughter and told her the truth, which was, "I am going to try as hard as I have ever tried at anything, and I need you to be my helper. Can you do that?" Lily had said yes, in the tone of someone accepting a commission. Then she had gone to her room and come back with a drawing she had made that morning. Claire in the hospital bed, Lily and Owen on either side. A large yellow sun in the upper right corner, the way children always place suns, as if light were a thing you could position deliberately over the people you love. She had handed it to Claire without comment and gone to find Owen. Claire had kept the drawing on the table beside her bed through all 9 months of treatment. The radiation was hard. The chemotherapy was harder. There were mornings Claire did not come downstairs, and Dottie made breakfast and told Lily and Owen that their mother was resting, and that resting was important work. There were evenings Claire came downstairs and sat with them for dinner and laughed at something Owen said, and for an hour the house was simply a house with a family in it, having dinner. And those evenings were the ones Dottie held on to on the days that required holding on to something. Lily held on to something too. She had started, somewhere in the middle of the treatment months, making things for her mother. Not drawings, she had made the drawing. Other things. A paper envelope she had sealed with a sticker that said, "For when you are better." A rock from the backyard she had painted blue because blue was her mother's favorite color. A list, written in her careful kindergarten printing, of 10 things she was going to do with her mother when her mother was better, which included getting ice cream, going to the park, seeing a movie with just the 2 of them, and, item 7, underlined twice, going to see Family Feud in real life, because Grandma says she always wanted to, and you should always do what Grandma says. Dottie had found the list on the kitchen table one afternoon in August, and had read it standing up, still in her coat, just home from the pharmacy. She had read it twice. Then she had gone to find Lily and asked her if she could keep it for a while. Lily had said yes, as long as she got it back. Dottie had applied for Family Feud in September of 2019. She had not told Claire. She had not told Lily. She had filled out the application at the kitchen table after everyone was asleep, and in the field asking why they wanted to be on the show, she had written, "My daughter is finishing treatment for a brain tumor." My granddaughter put, "Go to Family Feud" on a list of things to do when her mother gets better. My daughter is getting better. I would like to make the list come true. The casting producer who read it had called her supervisor before she finished the page. The call came in November. Claire's final scans in December showed no active tumor. The oncologist used the word cautious before the word optimistic, and Claire had written both words in her notebook and looked at them for a while. And Dottie had made dinner that night that was technically a regular Tuesday dinner and was actually a celebration of the most important kind. The quiet, private, just us kind, where you don't need anyone else to know what you're marking, because the marking is for yourselves. The taping was scheduled for March of 2020 and moved 3 times. It finally happened on April 14, 2021. The family that drove to Atlanta that Tuesday was Claire, Dottie, Claire's 2 sisters, Marguerite and Patrice, and Lily, who was not a contestant and was not supposed to be on the stage, and who had been carrying, since they left Hattiesburg at 6 that morning, a piece of paper folded into quarters between her 2 small palms. Claire did not know what was on the paper. Lily had made it the night before, sitting at the kitchen table with her crayons and her careful printing, and had folded it and said it was for later, and put it in the pocket of her yellow dress and gone to bed. Claire had not asked. She had learned, in the 14 months of Lily being her helper, that Lily's plans had a completion logic of their own, and were best honored by leaving them room to arrive. The game was in the 3rd round when the floor director saw Lily at the edge of the stage. He moved toward her, gently, a hand extended, ready to walk her back to the green room, and Lily looked at him with the clear, courteous certainty of someone who has considered the situation and reached a decision. And she said, "I need to give this to Steve Harvey. I've been saving it." The floor director stopped. He was a man named Phil who had worked in television for 19 years. He looked at the piece of paper held level between the small palms. He looked at the stage. He looked at Lily. He stepped aside. Steve Harvey saw her when she was 4 steps onto the stage. He stopped mid-sentence. The card in his hand stayed raised for a moment and then came down slowly. He looked at this 6-year-old in a yellow dress walking toward him with the focused, level-handed deliberateness of someone on an important errand, and something in his face changed. Not dramatically, not for the audience, but in the way faces change when a person is recalibrating what kind of moment they are inside. He crouched down. The studio fell completely silent. "Hey there," he said. "What's your name?" "Lily," she said. "I have something for you." "For me?" "I made it," she said, "for being nice to sick people." The studio fell completely silent. Steve Harvey looked at Lily Mouton for a long moment. Behind him, Claire had both hands over her mouth. Dottie was completely still. The audience, which had been warm and loud and fully engaged in the game 30 seconds ago, was now holding a collective breath so complete you could hear the lights humming. "Is somebody sick?" Steve said gently. "My mom was," Lily said. "She's better now, but you're nice to sick people on your show. I've seen it. So I made you a thank you." Steve Harvey's jaw moved. He did not speak for a moment. The studio fell completely silent. "Can I see it?" he said. Lily unfolded the paper with the careful ceremony of someone unwrapping something that required care. It was a drawing, done in crayon, a large figure with a microphone, a wide smile rendered in brown crayon, a suit that was approximately purple, standing in front of what was identifiably a television studio in the way that a 6-year-old renders a television studio, with lights that looked like stars and an audience that looked like a row of happy circles. Across the top, in Lily's careful printing, "Thank you, Steve Harvey, for being kind." Across the bottom, in smaller letters, "My mom is okay now." Steve Harvey read it. He read it again. He stood up very slowly. He held the drawing in both hands, and he looked at it, and what happened to his face in that moment was witnessed by 300 people and 4 camera operators and 1 floor director named Phil who had stepped aside. And not one of them would describe it the same way, because what happened to his face was the kind of thing that does not translate cleanly into words. The kind of thing that happens when a person receives something they did not know they needed, and the receiving of it reaches somewhere that the ordinary transactions of a day do not reach. He walked off the stage. Not dramatically, not quickly. He simply walked, still holding the drawing level in both hands, the way Lily had carried it, to the left side of the stage, where the curtain met the wall. And he stood there with his back partially to the audience for 30 seconds, and when he turned around, his eyes were red, and he was not performing, and everyone knew it. The studio fell completely silent. He came back to Lily. He crouched down again. He said, and these 5 words came out with the particular roughness of something spoken through a feeling that is still happening. "This is the best gift." Lily looked at him seriously. "You can keep it," she said. "I know," he said. "I'm going to." But Steve wasn't done. He stood. He looked at Claire, who had her hands still over her mouth, and whose eyes had the bright, helpless quality of someone who has been moved past the point where dignity is a useful concept. He said, "Come here." And Claire Mouton walked onto the stage, a kindergarten teacher from Hattiesburg, Mississippi, 14 months out of a brain tumor diagnosis, standing in the lights of a television show her daughter had put on a list. And Steve Harvey held both her hands and said, "You made it. You actually made it." Claire's shoulders moved. She could not answer. She nodded instead, which was enough. But Steve wasn't done. He turned to the audience and he said, "I need you to look at this family. This grandmother applied to this show while her daughter was in treatment because her granddaughter put us on a list of things to do when her mother got better. She got better. They're here. And this little girl carried a thank you note, 400 miles in her hands, to give to a stranger because she wanted to say thank you to someone for being kind." He stopped. That is what hope looks like. Not the big version, the 6-year-old with crayons version. And I want every person in this building to understand that the 6-year-old version is the truest version there is. The studio fell completely silent. Then he turned to the camera, directly, completely, and he said, "I want to talk to everyone watching at home. Somebody in your life is fighting something right now, and they have not told you. Somebody in your life is on the other side of something hard, and they are just beginning to believe it is actually over. Find them. Not tomorrow, today. Tell them you see them. Tell them they made it. You do not need a television show to say the thing that this little girl just said. You just need to mean it." The competing family, the Washingtons from Charlotte, North Carolina, had watched all of it from their podium without moving. Their eldest daughter, a woman named Beverly who was 38 and had lost her own mother to cancer 3 years prior, crossed the stage when Steve finished. She went to Lily. She crouched down. She said, "I had a mom who fought too. Thank you for taking such good care of yours." Then she stood and she went back to her family, and she did not say anything else. Lily watched her go. Then she looked at her mother. Then she took her mother's hand. That was all. The episode aired on June 8, 2021. The clip of Steve walking off his own stage was viewed 18 million times in the first 72 hours, the most watched clip in the show's digital history. It trended in 23 countries. The drawing, photographed by a production assistant before the end of the taping, with Lily's permission, was shared across every major platform. Brain tumor research organizations saw a 41% spike in donations in the week following the air date. The National Brain Tumor Society cited the clip in their summer fundraising campaign and credited it with their highest single-month donation total in 11 years. 3 months after the episode, Steve Harvey's production company announced a partnership with 5 pediatric oncology family support organizations, providing travel and accommodation grants to families who could not otherwise afford to be present during a child's or parent's treatment. The initiative was named simply The List, after the piece of paper a 6-year-old had written in her kindergarten printing on a summer afternoon in Hattiesburg when she decided to believe her mother was going to be okay. A year after the episode aired, Claire Mouton returned to her kindergarten classroom. Her scans remained clear. She still had the drawing Lily had made for her during treatment, the one with the hospital bed and the yellow sun positioned deliberately in the upper right corner, on the table beside her bed. She had added one thing to that table in the years since: a photograph of Lily on the Family Feud stage, yellow dress, paper held level in both hands, walking toward a man who did not yet know what she was carrying. Today, Lily is 9. She is in 3rd grade. She still draws. Her teacher this year has noted, in a parent conference, that Lily has an unusual habit of making drawings for people she thinks need them. Classmates who are having bad days, the school custodian who always says good morning, the librarian who let her check out an extra book. She does not announce these gifts. She simply delivers them, level in both hands, with the same matter-of-fact care she brought to the Family Feud stage at 6. Claire watches this and does not say anything, because there are things a child does that a parent understands are not theirs to explain or redirect or frame. They are simply who the child is. They are the best thing. You step aside and let them carry it to wherever it needs to go. The drawing Steve Harvey received that afternoon, "Thank you, Steve Harvey, for being kind, my mom is okay now," is framed in his production office in Atlanta. He has been asked about it in 4 interviews. Each time, he says the same thing: that he has received a great many things on that stage over the years, and that this was the only one he had to walk away to hold properly, because some things are too full to receive standing still. Lily made it for him because she had seen him be kind to sick people on television and wanted to say thank you to someone for being that. She had been saving it for the right person for 8 months. She walked 412 miles in a car and 4 steps onto a stage to deliver it level in both hands, the way you carry something that belongs to someone else and must arrive undamaged. It arrived. If this story gave you something today, please share it. Someone you know needs to see it, and you already know who. And subscribe, because this is the kind of story we find every single week, and you should be here for it.